Have we started recording yet?
Sorry, I didn't know I was muted. It's happening. Looks like we have everybody here. I'm not sure.
All but John, I guess, and he'll be along.
And Tucker, yeah, we
John
are
Deere.
recording again, and there are 2 attendees right now, from the public in the meeting.
Do we know who they are?
Yeah, Georgia Karen, our special ed director, and Jackie Wilson.
Excellent. Excellent.
Good.
All right. I know Jerry wanted us to all look at the minutes before we approved them, so I didn't know if anybody had any things to add to the minutes, or kind of put things to bed there. Isn't that right? Is that what you were looking for, Jerry? Real quick before we get into that. Jerry?
Yeah, and actually, I indicated I would like to update them perhaps a little bit more, but if you had anything at this point to let me know, but if it's okay, I'd like to approve them at the next meeting.
Okay.
As these.
Right.
So I think since I was yakking more at the last meeting, I was writing less, and I haven't had a chance to catch up fully yet.
Yeah, I'm with you on that. So we'll table the meeting, the minutes for approval till the next meeting.
Okay.
Sounds great. And then I put out this quick agenda. I apologize. The holidays got caught up with me, and my job's pretty kind of crazy. But I think I put on the top of the agenda was the field. I know that Mike, you had an interest in that, and the information that was sent there.
Yeah.
On the contract.
Yeah, I only got that information just as you know, late this afternoon. I didn't get it myself until about 5 o'clock. Okay. So I'm not prepared, but it will be Thursday.
All right. Well, that's the end of the meeting, but I guess we're going to have another meeting on Thursday.
Yeah.
That's great.
That. Yeah.
Yeah. No, we'll get to that. That's great. I'm with you on that. I put the elementary school as the next thing because it was such a big discussion last week. As I thought we'd want to bring up some things. I believe there was some talk about ratings. There was some interest in ratings, where the school is rated and where we were going. Robert, I know you had some information on that. John, welcome to the meeting.
Thank you.
Yeah. Robert, I don't know if you had some questions or you wanted to go.
Well, I had done an extensive search on all of the schools in New Hampshire and their ratings, and I looked at them in terms of the entire school, meaning, K through 13, they call it, and also the individual elementary, middle, and high schools. And I found an exhaustive amount of information. It's all readily available to everybody. I have taken a close look at everything. And what I was hoping was, well, I guess maybe I should share it with everybody to see what or at least what I found, because I put together a few slides on a PowerPoint presentation, and I listed all of the websites from which I gathered this information. And it was all as recent as, 2019's, rankings. And the rankings are not strong. So if everybody would like,
is there any way you can share that with us like Jerry did last week, the stuff that you put together? Is there a way to?
I can email it out to everybody, and whoever can put it up that would be fine.
Yeah, we can do that. We can do a share screen if he can't do a share screen, then I'm sure Debbie can set it up so that either I or somebody else can pull them up so everybody can view them on the video on their monitor, or just look at them separately. But
all panelists can share. So if you can tell them how to do that, Jerry.
Well, are you calling in on a phone, Mike, or on a computer?
This is Robert. I'm on a computer, but I got to go find where I put the file first.
Okay. I'm sorry, Robert. Yep.
Okay. And again, I guess Does anybody have anything else? I believe there was some information that was requested for all of, not just the teachers, but of all the support staff. I didn't get to review everything. Jerry, I think that you were looking at that. Did you find that you got that information, or?
I had some follow-up questions, which I sent over. I really appreciate the quick response. You know, as Judith and Debbie have been throughout this whole process. I did have a few follow-up questions that that we would have if we're going to be able to go through the you know, the non-teaching staff part of the budget. So, which I would think maybe we could do it, you know, whenever the next meeting is.
Okay. All right. How are you doing with your presentation there, Robert? You got it?
I'm getting ready to click the button and put it in everybody's hand right now.
Awesome. All right. And I think, Debbie, that means it's coming to you to do the share screen. I have a feeling. I don't know, but I'm trying to see what's coming my way. Hold on one second.
Don't ask me. I would fumble with trying to get that up on the screen.
Yeah, I've just set it so he can share his screen. Jerry's the expert there. He can walk him through it.
Well, if you move your mouse, do you see along the bottom where in the far left it says mute? Then maybe it says stop video. If you keep going along, then there'll be a participants. You might see one that says share screen. So in which do an email. So. It's a scary process to get to all this newfangled things.
Yes. It is.
I'm looking at that, but see, I have many screens, and that's the interesting part for me, is trying to figure out.
Do you see anywhere where along the bottom where there's like something that says Q&A and then chat?
Oh yeah, I've got that. The problem is I go to the share screen thing and I have many screens.
Yeah.
So I don't want the wrong screen to be popping up with, you know, my regular work type things.
Mhm.
So I'm trying to figure out.
Let's look at this. Maybe I just found my inbox.
I have it, and
Do you have it in the inbox? I think I.
Well, I just shared it on the screen. You guys should probably be able to see it now. Can you see it?
I don't have it yet. I don't have it in my inbox or the share screen.
Let me try. And
Well, I've got it up. Hey, can you guys see what I found? Look at me.
what?
I've got it up. I've opened it up, but how do I get it to? I got that far. How do I get it to everybody?
Jerry
I can
just
see
put it
one
up.
of them now. Yeah.
Jerry put it up.
Okay. So
Okay, Jerry put it up.
do you see it, Bonnie?
There we go. We got it. Do you?
I'm seeing it from I'm seeing it from my.
Yeah, I'm seeing the first slide.
You want to go ahead
I can speak
and
to it.
talk
Sure.
about what?
Okay, I went to a variety. I mean, I found a lot of stuff online. So every one of these things where I gathered information from, you will see the actual, you know, web address of where I got this from. So if you look at the top, it says HTTPS, you know, highschools.com directory, New Hampshire
Right.
cities link. So you can literally go there and find all the stuff that I dug up as we go along this stuff. And this was one of the things where I dug up the comparison of, you know, the numbers of students enrolled in various, you know, sections and different, you know, teacher ratios and whatnot. So this first slide is showing that obviously we have, you know, a low enrollment compared to the majority of the state. And then, you know, we have a very, very good teacher per student ratio you know, the comparison throughout the state. So that's all what that first line is showing. If you want to scroll to the second.
We will try. Yeah.
Okay, this is the rankings from a website called schooldigger.com. Go New Hampshire district ranking. In this one, it shows that, you know, Lincoln School is ranked, it's over on the far right, the rank changed from 2018. It dropped 7 places from 105 to 112. And that's of 152 schools rankings. Now, we've asked you to supply information on rankings, and she hasn't been able to get anything. So I'm just showing you what I was able to find because obviously we want to understand where the school fits in terms of what we're doing with all the dollars and what the return is on that. And then if you look further down, you'll see Lingwood Public Schools for the elementary side, K through 5. It is up 11 points. That means last year's ranking was 206 out of 230 schools. Now, I'm hoping somebody will show me something very different than that in another ranking subset from somewhere. But according to this ranking that's online right now for, you know, the school, it was ranked 206 last year, and it's at 195 this year out of 230. That's not good, people. Not good. And when I compared the cost, now we're not even showing that they got the school to give the information on the costs here. But when I did the cost comparisons, the average of the top 25 schools in the state was averaging 18,000 per student, and we're being asked to supply more than 30,000 per student. So we can go to the next page. Here we're showing that the middle schools ranked 104th out of 128. It's dropped 20 spots from 2018 to 2019. And there's only one school on this entire list that spent more than we're being asked to spend this year, and that school is ranked number 8. So when we're being asked to spend what we are, and we're ranking where these things are showing, and I'm only saying this is what I found on the internet. This is what any of you can find, and I'm giving you the address information right there at the top of the page. You can go look it up, verify everything. We all should be quantifying and qualifying everything that's discussed here. But we're looking at rankings that are not showing strong, especially when we consider what other places are doing with the dollars that they have. And you can see right on this list, numbers 101 through 107, and their costs, 16,000, 12,000, 17,000, 17,000, 18,000. Well, we know ours is 30. So my big problem is if they could do it for 17,000, maybe that's what we ought to do. Scroll to the next page, please. There's your top 25. Ran the numbers, average $18,512. It's right there in front of you. Somebody find me and show me something different. Please tell me I'm wrong here. Because for the amount of money we're spending, it's not equaling a strong education. It's not doing our best for our kids in town. It's not doing our best for our taxpayers in town. Scroll to the next page. There you go. Math. There you go. Test scores at Lin-Wood. Not what I'd call phenomenal. Next page, or is that the last page? I can't remember. Oh yeah, the rankings here for the 9th through 12th grade. Math 40 to 59%, reading 60 to 79%. Is there another page? I can't remember. Oh yeah. The top 67 schools in the state, the methodology is listed there. Did your district make the list? No, Lin-Wood didn't even make the list. So I think that was the last page. So I invite anybody to comment on that. I mean, is there other data out there? Nobody's showing it. We've requested it of the school. The school has not produced it. This is what I found. Does anybody have anything to dispute this? I would love for this to be wrong.
Well,
I live in this community. I want to be proud of my school. I want to be proud of what we're doing for the taxpayers in the school, the students within the programs. These numbers don't give me something to be clapping for.
I haven't really spent any time on rankings. The only thing I've seen is the U.S. News and World Report, which said we were 34th best school in the state. As I seem to remember having seen that. I will try to look for it between this and the next meeting. I'm not sure. I know they rely heavily on AP tests and percentage that passed AP tests or something like that, graduation rates, a few things like that. So that's a little bit counter to this. I'm not exactly sure what to do with this information in terms of recommending a budget. Obviously, the well-being and education of the kids are first and foremost. Looking out for the interests of the taxpayers and making efficient use of their limited resources, many of whom are struggling, is very critical. So, I hope we don't have to trade off one for the other by making smart recommendations. And you usually think if your kids are having are not doing as well as you'd like, that you're either spending money in the wrong place or you're not spending enough money, perhaps. So, and I don't have any basis at all to go one way or the other on that. So, and I don't know if you have thoughts, or there's a lot more of you have a lot more experience in classrooms or around the school than I do, this particular school.
I'd be very interested in hearing what the school is doing to make it better. We haven't heard anything on that. We've heard, here's the number we want to spend, but we haven't heard a number on, wow, this is why we want to spend it, and this is how it's going to make this school better.
Mike, and just for me on this topic, to me, there's a lot of curriculums out there. And I always wonder if it's curriculum based, where teachers are being forced to teach a curriculum that maybe, whether they agree with it or not, is one that they have to choose. And I'd be curious as to how our money is spent down that avenue. It's not something that's labeled or in the budget that I noticed. Maybe it is. And Judith, you can respond to that if it is, if I missed it. Because I think the curriculum has a lot to do with how the kids do. I know that the teachers do a good job, teaching, but sometimes I always feel that curriculum not gets in the way, but we have to be careful on what curriculums we choose. I don't know if that sounds crazy or not, but that's how I've always gone about it from my classroom, as being I was always fortunate to have the freedom to pick the curriculum that I wanted, so that I could teach, one, to my strengths, using the curriculum to my strengths, and two, a curriculum that I think best help the kids as they move forward. So that's just my thoughts on it real quick. I don't know if we buy curriculums. I don't know how that works. I do have private school experience, and I've always been fortunate to pick my own or be in charge of the actual math department. So we picked it together with a goal in mind. I'm sure it's all somewhere, but I just kind of putting that out there a little bit because I think that has a lot to do with it. Some of the curriculums today, we have to be very careful what we choose. Again, I've homeschooled my kids quite a bit, and that's where I spend a lot of my time is researching the curriculums to really make sure that they're benefiting. So that would be something that I would be interested in, to look on how the curriculums come about and if we're spending money there or not, or if whether it's good or not. That's something we'd have to really research. Just kind of throwing that out there.
Right. So right now, the district has purchased in recent years has purchased Fontes and Pinnell for the reading, and Orton Gillingham for reading as well. Those are the two programs. One program focuses on the meaning and the language part of the reading, and the other focuses on the coding and decoding of words. Also, Eureka Math is a program that the K-5 just put in place, and they just started working a couple of years ago on that. So we're looking for some collecting data and moving forward with that program. These are new programs that just went in, so it takes a couple of years to get adjusted to programs. And so we were hoping we would be able to, right before the pandemic, we were ready to take some good assessments, and we're hoping to show some progress. But because we left in March and didn't take the assessment until September and October, that kind of hurt the scores a little bit. I would say that hopefully in the spring, if we can get some scores, we can and see how the new programs have impacted that. We've also went over to a curriculum, the next generation science curriculum, K-12, and that was implemented, and we now use the science kits to implement those. And there's ongoing training for all of these programs whenever teachers feel as though they need more training, that open to training in all areas. So those are the areas that we just recently changed and upgraded.
Oh, sorry, my computer wasn't letting me back on. Finally got back on. So you guys purchase these curriculums? Is this when you guys do a whole school, is this a big purchase from?
Yeah, we do the research, we bring in companies, we listen to their presentations, we look at best practices, see which ones have had success, what school districts have had success. We've called school districts. Some cases we've been able to visit school districts that have used these programs. And then the staff decides and makes a decision as to what one would best meet the needs of the students and themselves as well.
So the staff is involved in the decision making of the curriculum?
Oh, yeah. Yeah. They go and visit the programs as they're being used in different schools before they do a recommendation.
And what was the reason for the change? Just curious.
Because the scores were low.
Okay. All right. I got some panelists. Does everybody see a chat or something going on?
Yeah, people have been putting things into the chat. Some are the attendees have made some comments. I put the link to the, I did find the link to the U.S. News and World Report ranking. So I put that link in there.
There we go. I was trying to read them.
Yeah. Yep. So I personally thank the individual who felt compelled enough to come and join us and talk about her experience as a sixth grade teacher. Thank you, and for the invitation to come to a classroom. subject to COVID, I know I would be interested, so.
And also classroom teachers are just not teaching that grade level. They have students in their classroom 2 years below grade level and 2 years above. So they're, if you're looking at a fourth grade classroom, you're working with students who are presenting at a second grade level as well as a sixth grade level. So it's grades 2 through 6 you are, possibly working with in one grade. So even though they're in that grade, doesn't mean that they're all performing at that grade level. And that's why it's important to look at programs that will meet the needs of all students in that grade level.
Does that support what we were talking about in our last meeting regarding the, French 1, 2, and 3 kind of idea?
I'm sorry, what was that, Robert?
Does that support the idea that we talked about regarding, remember when we were talking about the French classes?
Yeah, the French classes, that's kind of the same idea. Yeah, the French 1, 2, and 3.
Yeah, because I thought, I really liked that idea, and I definitely, I can get behind that sort of thing where you're mixing different age groups and levels to help
Mhm.
everybody move along. I'm a big fan of that. I've seen a lot of success with that.
Does anybody else have any more questions or things about the when I just put the elementary school for our discussion? I feel that there is, anyways, I'm just going to leave that alone. I'm reading some of the comments real quick.
Did we ever find out, I did not find this, so I'm just asking if somebody else did, the actual, state, requirement for when you have to go from 1 to 2 teachers? Did anybody get that?
You mean for the number of students you have in a classroom?
Yeah,
24. That's what they,
24. Okay.
Yeah, I thought I had seen,
in the elementary, it's lower.
well, I thought K through 2, the max class size is 25.
Yeah.
3 and above is 30 is what I saw. I don't remember where I read it, but it was something that we were looking at. So
For high school labs, you have to have a certain amount, otherwise you have to get a permission to have additional students.
High school labs or what? I'm sorry, what did you say?
High school labs have to be at a certain number. For example, I think they're 25 or something like that, or 24. And if you go higher than that, you do have to get special permission to teach more kids in a student lab for high school, just for safety reasons.
Yeah, makes sense. But it sounds like the students per classroom is right around 25.
Right.
You're right, for the state recommended.
Yeah.
Okay. And Bonnie, looks like you want to say something. Is there something on your mind there? Yeah, you're muted, I think.
You're muted, Bonnie.
Yeah, no, I was just going back to what we were saying a little before, and Jerry said he'd be interested in going to the school and seeing. I don't know whether we can, but I think, I think it would be great to see the elementary school, to see it. It's been a while since I've been in there. Can we or not?
I'd say you can go see it when there's no kids around.
Yeah, maybe we need a field trip to the school, perhaps, to see that, a visual is sometimes good.
I can tell you, I've last year spent some time in the elementary school, and it's the teachers are doing a great job with our students. They're working hard. I'm not gonna say they're not doing that. In the personal way. I had some great interactions with all of them. So, but again, I would probably, to look at the layout and stuff, I really didn't take that in. So I think I hear what you're saying, Bonnie.
And I think it might be important, because if we were even thinking of combining classes, we need to see logistically if it could be done. The sizes of each individual classroom, how many walls you'd have to take down, how would it work? how would you do it? Would you have to take the 2 rooms and make it into 1 room, or are the individual rooms big enough for more students in them? I don't know, but a visual I think would be a good thing.
I agree with that. And I'm totally sensitive to all this. I'm not, what issues are about the kids. But I do recognize that, we're supposed to be doing diligence for everybody, including the taxpayer here too. So that's the process we're in. One of the things that with the current salary that the teachers are making on average, and then using the standard overhead, and Debbie, I went through your teacher part of your budget, and for the superintendent and principal's office, the direct overhead rate's about 40%, but on the teachers, it's about 65%. Maybe because salaries are lower in that group, so the health insurance costs more per dollar spent on salary or something. But so we're looking, if my numbers were about right, about $91,000 per teacher in direct costs. And it's hard not to take that into consideration when trying to decide what kind of recommendation to make for our town and our school system. So, we haven't made any recommendations yet, but I think going in and looking is probably would be helpful. As for me, it would be helpful as well. So.
When I guess Judy, can we have to set this up in advance if individuals want to go, or I don't know if we all want to go as a group, that's up to us.
You'd be going in the evening, so I would say you'd have to set it up and check to see when you can go in and who would be there. I would check with Mark Perbenow. I mean, administration won't be there, and they're not there at night, so you'd be going in and taking a walk around.
I mean, I know we're doing Zoom meetings. Is there capability of us having our social distancing and actually doing a walk around and having a Thursday meeting there?
I suppose you could, yeah.
I'm just kind of throwing that out there. I know we've all been doing Zoom, and I know we're all on a tight schedule. I was just curious.
Right now, go ahead.
Is anybody quarantined in this group? Or?
I know. Right now, we don't have anyone coming into the buildings except for teachers and staff and administration and students. So that's why there hasn't been any. They have had some basketball games in there with just students and a coach. So if we do, we'd have to, yeah, I suppose we could. We haven't had anyone come in. All parent meetings have been online, remote.
I don't know if there's any interest from the panel to try to schedule something like that, to go visit it and have a meeting. Now, because we have to have the public, we'd have to have someone there recording. Is that correct, Judy?
Yeah, this would be a public meeting. We would be recording the meeting. You wouldn't have to be recording the visit. You just
no, but I meant if we continue, let's say we did the visit and then we all went into a meeting right there, we'd have to have, was it Trey that did it? Is that what his name was? I apologize.
We could do it ourselves. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. I guess we'd have to Zoom from in there or something.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. Just kind of throwing that out there. I didn't know if anybody had any interest, since there was some interest in it. I don't think it's a bad idea to see the spot myself, to see what it looks like as we think and make recommendations. Any other thoughts on that? Nobody. Okay. Is there any more discussion that we like? Again, we want to keep going with this topic. That was great information, by the way, Jerry. The stuff that you'd put together. Yeah. I was gonna say I'd love to see some of that where you found all that. I haven't done my due diligence in that, so that was spectacular on your number of 91,000. Thank you. All right, I guess if we're done with, anybody have anything else they want to bring before on the elementary school or any other discussion?
Yes, good afternoon, Judith. This is Mike. I just want to clarify, did you agree with the charts that Robert put up there? Or I didn't hear you disagree with them. I guess I just want to know, is it accurate information or?
I don't know. I'd have to sit down and look at them and find out where they got their information and what information is used to come up with those numbers. It takes more than just a 2-minute.
Yeah, no, I agree and I understand that. That's why I just would like to, if we could have some kind of follow-up so that people aren't being misled or something.
Yeah,
I
no,
think it would be fair for everybody, that's all.
yeah, I'm gonna look at them. I'll look at them more closely.
Yeah, that's
Oh,
why I
thank you.
put the actual address, so everybody that sees this can go look it up and
Yeah, yeah.
see what the details are.
Yeah, very good. Thank you. I appreciate that.
With that, Jerry, you said you posted, where did you post the article?
In the chat.
Yeah.
Yeah, let's see if I can see it there.
Oh, I see it. I got it. I wanted to-
Here, I can share the overhead calculation here that I did, and maybe Debbie can tell whether I'm on board at all. This is the budget that we got. We have regular salaries of $2 million in the regular education account. So then I went through and looked at what other categories would I consider direct overhead. Health insurance, I included dental insurance, life insurance, flex spending accounts, which isn't very much. FICA, then the state retirement teachers, unemployment, and workers' comp. I've kind of, those are all things that are kind of based on, they're based on employee based. And that comes out to about 1.32 million. These other categories. So if you divide 1.3 million into 2 million, you get about 65%. So that's the direct overhead rate. And I don't know if I got everything in there, but I was trying to at least get close to ballpark. Debbie, as a finance person, does that seem like a kind of a reasonable way to do it?
Yeah, I ran the numbers too, and they're pretty close.
Okay.
Yep.
So, and this is Debbie's spreadsheet. So I think I did the same thing, whether I saved it or not. I bet Debbie knows right where the school board elections, superintendent's office. So office of the superintendent, we had 414,000 in salaries and 167,000 in direct overhead, kind of the same categories. That came out to about 40%. So it's a lot lower percentage in direct overhead expenses. So, could be that's why we come out with about 60% overall, but there is difference depending on who we have. So in general, if these salaries go down, the direct expenses should go down about the same amount. They're not, there's not like a fixed and variable component in these things. So again, Debbie, did I do okay?
Yeah, I mean, in some of the, I broke it down by teachers, support staff, and admin, but in total, we're same, broken down a little differently.
Where did the admin come in? Or
Well,
are they,
they're in a couple different lines. They're in the superintendent and the principal, but in those lines, there's also support staff. So
right?
I went to the salary schedules that are in the budget and used those directly from there.
Okay. All right. Was that helpful, Tucker?
That was great. Yeah. Yeah, no. I was working off the salaries one. So that was great. I was I was looking at the salaries. I think probably the same thing you were looking at, Debbie. I haven't spent
Yeah.
as much time as you have, Jerry. I'm trying to get there, so that's
Yeah,
awesome.
Jerry just had to go hunting and pecking. The salaries, it's all there, and they're broken out in all the different lines, but I just took the one sheet. So,
So the next question, after knowing that it's an average of 91,000 per teacher, when we look at the kindergarten through 5th grade, we have nothing greater than 24 students, and we have, in fact, as low as 14. So if the state mandate is one teacher for as many as 24 students, yet K through 5th grade, we know that we don't have more than 24 students in any grade, yet we have 2 teachers for every grade. Tell me what we're getting for that. Just want to get the value for it, because we're talking 6 positions at 91,000. K through 5.
You want me to respond to that, Tucker?
I would say that's you. I can't. Yeah.
I would say, this community has always had small classrooms, and it continues to be that way. So the students do get the individualized instruction, and they're able to stay in the classroom for longer periods of time with that, and with the specialized instruction within the classroom, rather than being pull-out programs where the kids get taken out of the classroom.
And I have to respond saying, with smaller classrooms and that individual ratings, that we would have the expectation of, the school doing better than we're seeing for ranking. We're talking about being in the bottom quarter of the state, and we're spending more than almost anybody in the state. So if I was looking at, top 5 school, I'd be like, thumbs up, that's great. That's what I'm looking for.
Right, and it depends, Robert, on the level of students coming into each grade. So for example, if you have kindergarten kids, and anyone moves into the district or is in a classroom, you start them at their level on which they are at. And you look at the individual student progress for each child. So if a child is in 3rd grade and he's at a 1st grade level, and by the end of 3rd grade, he's performing at a 2nd grade level, that means he's jumped 2 grade levels in 1 year. And that's a good jump for a kiddo. That
That's
doesn't
great.
show.
I'm all for that. I just need to see it.
I
I'm
know.
not being shown any evidence that any of that's happening. Everywhere I look is not telling me that. Show me, give me some hard data from somewhere that, verifiable, so I could say, wow, okay, that's great. I want to see it. I hear it. I hear what you're saying, but I'm the kind of guy that has to verify that it's actually happening, because I've heard a lot of things in my life that didn't turn out to be quite what everybody wanted to think they were. So I am very big on validation. Please provide data that shows that, so I can get behind it. I want to get behind it. I pray to get behind it, but I need something that I can.
I would add to
prove is
that.
real.
I would add to that are a lot of kids behind and we're making those type of strides. I mean, I think we have very kids who are very able to do very well at their grade level and above, or are we losing those kids? That I understand when you say they make those great strides, but that's also saying that a lot of our kids are behind, and I don't think they are. But I'm looking at the rating now and kind of wondering.
Students perform at various levels within the same grade. So that, yes, they do move forward, and they do make gains. Some aren't as large gain as others, but they're gaining in their learning. So
I guess but they're at level, most of our students. I mean,
Yeah,
That's
most
kind of how I'm,
They're at level, right? Yeah. And they move forward with that. So
I'm not, I
Would it be
guess
better?
I'm,
yes, that's why we brought in new programs and we're working with the programs. And like I said before, it takes a couple of years to get acclimated to the programs and for the students to get used to them and moving forward, that's what we'll be doing.
do we lose a lot of kids or do we gain? I mean, we've lost a lot of kids. Is it just due to population or is it due to parents choosing other schools or other avenues? Are you aware?
The only ones we're aware of is if parents are going to be homeschooling their child and they decide to go through the district or notify the district, which they don't have to do. So we only know about the ones that are, homeschooling that notify us.
All right.
We don't know
And-
if,
But we also do know some of the kids that if they are leaving, say, to go to a private school, I think we have a pretty good handle on the families that come and go in the community.
all right,
But
right.
a lot of it is more people moving out or moving in.
Mhm.
As we know, there's not a lot of housing available. More so in Lincoln than in Woodstock, but in both towns. So there's not, it looks, when we look at the numbers and we look at why the decrease, a lot of it is the housing availability in town. So we are losing families to that. But we have a pretty good handle on if they are going to another school, we're small enough that we can track that.
Yeah, I mean, that's a great thing. I mean, not great or whatever. I'm just saying that I think you are correct. The houses around me are all bought up by second home owners. So I would agree that that could have a lot to do with it. That there is no place for people to come into the town. But I was just curious if you know why they're leaving. And again, you're saying for housing is a majority of it? Deb?
Yeah, jobs,
Could be any-
yeah, why they leave town, it's probably more due to jobs and affordability of living here. If a whole family leaves, I don't think they're leaving because they want to go to a different school per se.
All right, just curious on that. Any other questions?
Not on this topic. Go ahead.
What was that?
I said not on this topic.
Yeah. Guess, do we have, what do we want to move to next? What line item or topic that we'd like to discuss next?
Let's see, what else is on your agenda?
Sorry, yeah, I apologize. I don't have it in front of me right here. I think, yep, go ahead.
I have one question on the materials that were sent today in terms of the teacher. I kind of have two questions. Just kind of, looking at the chart of the numbers of where teachers would end up with certain steps, the salary numbers seemed a lot lower than teachers are actually getting. And so I'm kind of a little, like a lot of them, it looks like they're making more than the highest step in their category. And
More than half of them are off step
yes, okay.
because there's only 11 steps and we have a pretty experienced staff.
Okay, and the other thing is that there are a lot of categories for paying for, people being a varsity coach and stuff like that, but it looks like the stipends in terms of the budget have quite a few things in it that aren't in that contract. So is that something that we're doing as a school outside the contract? And, the case of an assistant coach making $500 for softball or soccer or something like that? I didn't see that like that.
Yeah, there's an assistant coach's pool. So that pool is divided up. So you'll see it was like $2,000. So we had 4 assistant coaches. So they each got $500 or something like that. So there's a pool of money. You'll see that line.
Okay, so what that was there's $2,000 for an assistant coach, and then they end up hiring 4 people, so they split it.
Yeah, it's the assistant coach's pool. Yes, it's not just one.
I missed that nuance.
Yeah, a lot of nuances.
And that, I guess that leads to, are there any other questions about the information that was sent today? If we had time to get to it. I know I didn't get to it as much as I would like to have. My job doesn't allow me to have that time to go over much. So there are any other questions on the material that was sent here today?
Unfortunately, I pulled in at 10 minutes of 6, so and I saw there was an email with, I didn't get to look at the material. I'm sorry. I'll have to print it off later, so I can't comment on much that was sent out this afternoon.
All right, with that, it looks like there's some interest. I'm just going to throw it real quick. There seems to be interest in having a meeting on Thursday. It looks like Thursday we'll discuss a lot of the information that was sent today. I'm just throwing that out there right now. I didn't know if anybody, I guess, take a vote on it, if anybody's interested in that.
I would like to just ask the question, on this sheet on page, I guess it's the last page of the thing that you sent over that lists out all the clubs. There's such a variance in what one pays versus another. I'd be curious to understand how many people are involved in each one. How many students are involved in each one. Just, for example, you have boys varsity basketball at 3,500. And then you have boys varsity soccer at 2,450. But generally speaking, there's a lot more people on a soccer team than on a basketball team. So I'm trying to just wrap my head around why the differences in dollars associated with each. Is it, more popularity of one? I don't know what it is. I know in Texas for football, everything goes, all the dollars go there. But then, does the astronomy club, which gets $650, have 30 people in it, and maybe they could use another telescope. I don't know, but it's something that'd be interesting to understand. How many people are utilizing each one, and is there something like the science fair? Do we need to supply more materials to support that? There's a lot of different kids with a lot of different skill sets and abilities, and wouldn't hurt us to understand where the dollars are going and where it might help us find areas that do need more dollars. I've seen some, highly gifted students walk through these programs and not have what they needed to accomplish things. So I'm very interested in what's happening with gifted students in the school.
The some of that list of items that are on that list, though some of those clubs don't happen on an annual basis. So, but those are the list of activities that can happen. I mean, sports, yes, that does happen every year, and you have your coaches every year. But some of the other clubs, some of them do happen, and some of them don't, depending on the year and what teacher is willing to take on that particular club. So not all of those clubs are working every single year.
And also the student interest. And along with the coaches, like again, when they sit down and negotiate that whole contract, and that Schedule B, as we refer to it, is part of that contract. I know with the coaching, like basketball is a longer season than soccer. So it's not always the number of players, but they're looking at more the amount of time. And they're also looking at other schools to kind of get a comparison on, okay, so this is the basketball season, the length of the basketball season versus this is the softball and baseball. It's a short season. So they're looking at a lot of different factors, not just the number of kids on the teams, because the number of kids varies every year depending on the student interests and how many kids are playing that year. So.
Yeah, because I don't even see cross country running on here, and that used to be a sport that you had. But
yeah, it is on there because we do have a team, and that number's growing. So.
Oh, there it is, varsity cross country.
Yeah. But again, they kind of look at a lot of different factors, not so much the team size. I don't think it's the season length.
Okay. What does a class advisor do? I see junior class advisor, for example, $1,400. What is that person doing?
They take on the responsibility of the class for the year, and usually it's the same class advisor follows them throughout high school also as well. But that's the one who organizes their fundraising, does their activities, organizes their senior year in their dances, in their proms, and they organize and support the graduation process.
So the same person follows a class through the whole high school process?
Yeah, typically, if the group that you have in freshman year, typically they try to stay with them throughout all their years.
Is it the same people that do that, or is there an interest from someone different, or is it a shared? Just
Usually it rotates.
It rotates, yeah.
Yeah, different, I mean, you have the freshman class advisor, the junior, sophomore, the junior, the senior, and then the new class, then they'll look for people for the new freshman class coming in. So
Okay.
it typically rotates because it's a pretty big commitment, especially as they get old. There's a whole fundraising, and they're usually in non-COVID times, they have a, end of year class trip. So they're working towards, a lot of the fundraising is going towards their class trip at their senior year. And all, like Judy said, a lot of their graduation activities.
Yeah, I was just curious if a lot of them get involved, or if it's always the same 4 or 5. Just curious.
It seems to rotate because it's a pretty big commitment.
Oh, yeah. Cool. Any other questions? The other stuff I had on the agenda real quick was open-ended. I thought, again, I know that the field stuff, we didn't get time to get to, and we moved that along also.
I'm sorry to interrupt, Tucker, but I wanted to bring up a point regarding this process, because as Judith said, being a COVID year, there is very little of that stuff that they can actually do. So maybe this is a year that we consider adding a line item where we match the dollars they raise or something. I don't know what anybody else might want to come up with for an idea, but just something so that, they have a little more to look forward to than going to the apple orchard.
Yeah, it's a great point. I mean, you're saying add that to the budget as a line item?
Well, let's just, put it on our list of things to continue to talk about, because they are being, these classes are being limited in what they can do for fundraisers. Maybe we just take up a collection at the town meeting when we go to present this whole budget thing, I don't know, but there's something that we should consider doing something while we're,
You can only do pizza for the people so many times, so.
So true.
That was quite a lineup that day.
Good.
Just bought a pizza, but
It was good.
some of the money went to the seniors and the rest went to the class, I think, for whatever purpose they wanted to put it together for. So.
yeah.
No, it was good. My son was in the senior class.
Ah,
Unfortunately, their trip, no, I don't, yeah, anyways. Their trip didn't happen. So it happened, it's unfortunate. Yeah, so I left the rest of it kind of open because I didn't know how long. Our discussions have been pretty lengthy. So I left it open. I added the boiler. I added if we wanted to transition to the high school from the elementary school with some of the information that has been sent, or the information that we've just seen. So I kind of left that open-ended. We've always gone beyond 8, so I kind of left it a little short this time. So I don't know if anybody wanted to bring a topic or a line item in front of everybody, if there was something they wanted to discuss. I'm leaving that open right now for quick discussions. Does anybody have anything? Yeah.
So what's the timing for discussing the boiler? Is that,
I didn't have a timing. I just kind of put it there in case we ended up with this type of a situation. I don't know if anybody can tell us about the boiler, or
Because
give us a little bit of history.
I thought we were talking about having somebody come in, and are we going to do that in combination with the board now, or which was what, the 3rd or something, or is that right?
Yes, it's February 3rd. That's when the engineering's coming in.
So are we comfortable, waiting to that and then addressing that issue then, because it's the boiler's a separate bonding thing, is that right?
Correct.
It's a warrant article, right?
Separate warrant, thank you.
Yeah, separate warrant.
Right, so we're not even talking about that being part of this budget. That's a warrant article.
It's just not part of the warrant that we've been talking about, yeah. It's
Right,
just-
you guys just need to make a recommendation, obviously, so you need to have an understanding of all of the warrant articles. But the school board drafts those warrant articles and you make a recommendation. There'll be a line in each warrant article that says, school board recommends this warrant article and budget committee recommends this or doesn't recommend. So that's basically, so you do need to have a good understanding of them.
So there's no answered RFP for us to be able to read, right?
There's no, what?
P, is that what you said?
RFP, a request for a proposal from the company. They would have answered it with their dollars and the full breakdown and the justification.
Yeah, we have estimates on the boiler project. Yeah, we have all that because we went through it all last year and had the warrant article all ready to go. So we have all that information, yes.
Oh, okay. Can you just send us over copies on that so we can just,
Yeah, and the engineer will go over because they do need to adjust a few things that the school board has been talking about as far as some of the things that they originally decided upon in the design. They're going to probably mainly the fuel source instead of propane using oil.
Is there a little history to this? I mean, it sounds like this was tabled last year. What?
I think we sent you the chronology of the whole project in prior packets. I mean, there's quite a lot. They've been working on this for 4 or 5 years. So there's a lot of history, yes.
It was tabled last year due to the COVID and basically nobody in the valley having the money. So it was tabled last year for that reason. And this year it has been changed and reduced to just oil instead of changing everything over to propane, is my understanding. I'm not completely certain of that. I guess we'll find that out at the next meeting. But in general, I mean, I voted to send that warrant article to the public. I didn't necessarily vote to approve it as far as my vote goes, but I do believe it should be the choice of the people. I guess I misunderstood my vote. But there is a ton of history on it. So I would recommend that everybody fulfill their brains with it because there is a lot of history going to this subject.
Joe, when I was at one of the meetings on this, are we at a must do situation also?
Wait, must do, is that what you said, Tucker?
Yeah, I kind of got the impression that we're at a point where this has to get done right away, or
just the piping. There's a piping that connects the oil tank to the building. It's like 20 feet, maybe even less than that. That absolutely has to be done. We have to upgrade to double wall piping per the state regulations. That is being done. I believe it's being bid out as we speak. So that part is being done no matter what. So that particular cost of putting a farm tanks in and all that stuff will be taken out of the proposal. That's the only part that absolutely has to be done. I mean, as far as the system that's there, it runs, it's semi-efficient. But the air conditioning part is broken down. I believe those were burnt up. One of them has been replaced already, I believe, in the music room. So there's another 20,000 there eventually that will be taken out of that proposal. So the proposal will be reduced down.
I just asked because now I realize it was the piping. Just kind of walking in out of nowhere, deciding to join this group and go into a meeting and thinking
Ask
thinking about
anything you
being part
want.
of a budget, thinking about being part of a budget committee and listening to them having to spend money right away, like no choice. It was just interesting. That's all.
Yes, we were going to get fined a
Okay.
lot of money if we didn't do this piping project like immediately. We put it off to the last minute, so we are doing it. And like I said, feel free to ask anything. I can answer to the best of my ability, and if I can't answer you, I'll get you the answer.
I was just curious because again, when you walk in halfway through something, or not even halfway, right at the end, I was just curious about it because there's been a lot
there's
of.
no way you can understand it just walking in like that with the history that's gone on with this project. There's just no way.
No, I understand that. Yeah, I was just curious if it was coming our way, so I had interest, you know. And it sounds like all we do is our recommendation via the warrant. It sounds like.
Correct.
And Judith, you said you sent us a bunch of information on that. That was
Yeah.
part of, or I'm sorry, Deb, that was part of the first one that was sent to us.
Yes, the very first one. Mhm.
That
Hey,
was-
Joe, how old is the current heating system?
Not as old as the high school. Was it 94? That's something like that.
92.
92. It was all installed.
And they're keeping it in the system. I guess I hear now that we were going to switch over to gas, chose not to save money and going to stay with the system or similar.
That's correct. Yeah.
Okay.
And they wanted to change the controls in the building to control it better, but we're still sticking with all the unit vents and everything that are in the individual classrooms. So, you know, I actually, it would be inappropriate for me to give my personal opinion. So I would just recommend that everybody do their diligence and read about it.
Awesome. Any other? I don't know what else to ask on it. I was just curious about it. That's why I put it there, because there seems to be a lot of discussion about it, not just at those meetings, but out and a little bit in the public also, the little bit that I'm out there.
Yeah, I mean, the high school boiler was put in this, well, I think in the 60s or something like that. So there's just a lot of consideration in the whole overall project that budget committee, school board, everybody needs to really seriously weigh in on, and including the public. I mean, if we're going to do it, I mean, now would be the time due to the bonds being down and everything. So just read into it. That's all I can ask. Please, please, please read into everything and use good judgment.
How big is the project, Joe? Roughly?
I don't have it in front of me, Jerry, but I could, 500 and something thousand now, something like that. Is that what it is, Deb?
Yeah.
Yeah, 540, 580, something like that.
540.
And that's on top of the 8 millions.
Absolutely. Yes, it is. And then you got other ones too that are going to be added into that too, the roofing and a bunch of stuff. So you've really got to weigh in on it.
When are we going to hear about the roof and the flooring and so forth?
Well, I could tell you a little bit of just the background on that. A lot of that, it was all part of a 10-year plan. And some of it was put off, some of it wasn't. So, I mean, that is all part of something that the public has pretty much already approved some of it. So I don't think that's as big of an issue, but you still need to look into it. Don't take me wrong.
Right.
Yeah, and in your budget binders, I think under the facilities tab, there is some history on the spending on some of those other warrant articles over the last 10 years. So you can see, you know, you'll see flooring, roofing. So you can see what's been going on as far as the dollars. But I think at the next school board meeting next week, there'll be, I think the facilities committee's meeting beforehand, and then they'll talk about the flooring and the roofing warrant articles also.
When is that meeting?
Next Wednesday, I think,
Wednesday. Mhm.
27th. Yeah.
A week from tomorrow, I believe, right?
Yeah.
Right, 27th.
And is that, are they're not doing Zoom? They still have open door on that? Do you know?
They did a Zoom the last board meeting.
Did
I
they?
don't know if they'll do this board meeting, probably a Zoom, depending on the situation.
Okay. Again, because I walked into the other two once trying to decide if I was going to join this group.
Right, right.
And
How'd
you
that
just-
work out for you?
Yeah.
Yeah, you guys put me at the top. Thanks. I show up late to the first meeting, and look what happens. No, it's all good, guys. It's all good. All right. One of the other things. Is there anything else people? Is there something that people have? Again, I'm leaving it kind of open on discussion. We've all looked at the binder and we've gone through the whole backup. We're gonna go over some of the other contracts. But is there anything else that people have for discussion as a group, as a unit? I'm just curious. Because I'm looking at a timetable. Is that right? The 5th, we're presenting
Well,
our.
There is the one topic of looking at the usage of the space in the school, which, you know, could lend itself toward, you know, making a separate access point and moving the administrative offices out of the rental property into that building. That was one of the things that we touched on very early on, but we need to examine what the possibilities of that might be, you know, and then the costs of, you know, making separate entrances and closing it off from the rest. And, you know, does it make any sense? Is there any viability? And Joe, you know those facilities pretty well, and whether or not there even is any potential space.
Honestly, I don't know the occupancy of the building as it is right now, as I haven't been in there in a few
Yeah.
years. What classrooms have switched where, what computer rooms have moved where. I mean, I really couldn't answer that without a walkthrough with everybody to explain where we're at. I mean, I know we changed one of the rooms into a weight room now, so that's out, and I mean, stuff like that. So I don't know the current occupancy.
Wow, I didn't know the school had a weight room.
Well, we do now.
Nice.
All the more reason we need that visit to see and judge with our own eyes. I for one would be in favor of bringing the SAU back on campus, but we need to see where would it be and how feasible it is.
Well, Judith, what do you think of that concept if it had, you know, separate entrance and was, you know, basically closed off from the rest of it and that kind of thing, and provided you with, you know, whatever space requirements you might be coming up short with where you're at? I don't know how well that current space services you.
Well,
Just looking at it in terms of, you know, dollars being where the dollars are being spent. That's all.
right. The space we're in now works for us. We did look at having the offices over at the other building, and it was a pretty tight situation. You wouldn't have your conference area to have meetings with. I mean, and we use this conference room, you know, every day. You know, so there's always meetings going on. So yeah, and there are things that we would not be able to do if we did move over to the other area.
So everybody says moving it back on campus. Was it originally back on campus and where, or was it originally on campus and where was it?
It was in the elementary school at the front.
Yeah.
Of the elementary school.
And then they put in all-day kindergarten. So at the time, the special ed teachers were in a little classroom at the elementary school. And then when they did all-day kindergarten, because they had two half-day sessions that were using the same room, AM and PM, and then they needed two classrooms for kindergarten. So they had to move the special ed staff, so they moved them to where the SAU offices were.
Okay.
And then there was no room for the SAU at the time.
How long ago was that? Just curious.
2008, or it was before Judy got here.
Right.
Around 2008.
Wasn't there another proposal that utilized the old, I don't know, I'll call it industrial arts, you know, way over to the end? Wasn't, I remember hearing about the
Mhm.
separate door and the security and all of that business. And wasn't it over that way also proposed at one
Yeah,
time?
that was one of the areas that they looked at when they redid that whole area, but then another space was needed for this, or another space was needed for that. And I mean, if there's space, if we can find space, but it just hasn't, like
Maybe-
Judy said, there hasn't been.
Maybe there's some space and we build some space.
I mean, years ago, there was a plan put together to redo the garage and put our offices up above the garage.
Oh, that's a bad idea,
Yeah, yeah.
I
So
would-
again, it's definitely been a discussion through the years.
You know,
I think before I got here, years before I got here, the SAU office actually used to be over here upstairs.
Yes, years ago, I remember that.
Yeah.
Now,
And then I think when they built the elementary school, they made offices at the elementary school.
Now, does it have to be a separate entrance and all? Does it have to be? I don't think it has to be a separate entrance. You'd come in the front entrance and maybe principals here and you know, it doesn't have to be a separate door, does it?
I'm feeling that because of the work they do and some of the confidentiality of it and, you know, what kids see, you know, that my gut feel is private entrance. But that's just my gut feel. I'd have to see what we're talking about and where.
So again, in the period of time since the administrative office moved out, the number of students has dropped by 20%. So theoretically, we may be able to make some square footage available, whether it can be done in a way that works for the students, for administration is to be seen. So, but how much would that save us, Debbie, in rent?
Rent is 11,400. It's $950 a month.
Oh, no.
11,400 for the year.
And then there's electricity.
And then there's
other-
electricity, and yeah, and that's pretty small. I mean, it's under $20,000.
Yeah, I think I did those calculations at one point, and yeah, like 18,000 or something like that in that ballpark is the cost of renting that space over there with the extras added on.
Yep.
And you know, are there efficiencies? You know, I know probably the superintendent's office has to interact with the school now and then. I mean, is there an awful lot of running back and forth across the street? Or, I mean, is there some advantage to being right there as opposed to a 10-15 minute walk away?
I don't see any advantage. The walk is 5 minutes.
They're faster than 10 minutes, yeah.
Yeah.
We're not that slow. But it's good. I mean, I think it's good because, you know, if parents ever have any concerns and they want to sit down and talk, at least they're removed from the school and they can come over and have a meeting without everybody seeing that there's a meeting, you know, with the superintendent or whatever. So it does give that confidentiality, does protect that. Because it's so closed in. Other districts that do have the superintendent's office is pretty separated from the rest of the school building, even though it's within the building. But the rooms are, the area is spread out more so that the superintendent's office is separated, so that when people do come in and out, it doesn't interfere with the day-to-day running of the school.
I think the confidentiality is important.
I think it is too. It's really important.
Yep, I think that's a big
Yeah.
consideration.
Well, another part of that would be too, because like Bonnie, you were talking earlier about being able to do a shared superintendent situation between
Right.
schools. So if we were going to do that, that was going to be, our superintendent situation being shared with somebody else, then you would need to have that level of separation. But then those costs would be, shared as well.
Yeah, I think we're at some point, and it might be the studying we do over this next year. We look at that, whether we join with another SAU or find another small SAU out there that wants to share with us. I think that's something we should look at over this next year.
Yeah, it's definitely worth looking into. Absolutely. I guess my next thing on my mind is, I understand that there was a lot less usage of the summer programs last year, obviously due to COVID, and we can see that we're running into those things again. And so my question would be, is this a year to not do the summer programs?
We're not looking into not having the summer programs, but I think it's necessary. I think it helps the students out.
Didn't you tell us earlier that only 2 students regularly used it last summer?
No.
No, and actually there was more special ed going on just because of the services that were required. We were lucky to have some grants, though. We did get some grants for that, but that was higher amounts of students that was serviced during the summer as far as special ed, and girls and boys of summer continued. And
The partner program would be a disaster if those kids went that long without being in there. Just my opinion.
Okay, I did look into that program, that there is a similar program offered by the CANC for the that girls and boys in summer hike and reading thing. It looked very, very similar from the way you guys described your program. In fact, I was told by people that were involved in it that they actually walked on down to the school and got together with you guys on that. Is that not true?
I don't know.
I'm not sure what you're talking about. I mean, the girls and boys of summer, it's more the older kids, and the CANC programs are run for the younger kids. So I'm not really sure.
Yeah, the CANC is younger, up through what, 12 years old, and then there's one at the community center that goes through 8th grade, and then the girls and boys of summer are supposedly for high school students. And I do know that the high school students have joined in due to mentorship and providing mentorship. I know a little bit about that as I'm trying to get one of my kids involved in it. So it's not really a alternative due to age. All right, so I got some notes. I'm just trying to take some notes. Sure you are also, Jerry.
A little more together this time, that's for sure.
Trying to keep up. Again, anything people have looked at that stuff. A lot of people have been doing some research. If there's anything they want to share or bring before to everybody. Again, as our agenda kind of got a little off track here tonight. Again, I guess looking at some of the material that you sent today, Judy, and I'm just curious. The negotiations on the salaries. I noticed you sent a whole contract on that. Was that today?
Yes. Mhm.
And is there a representative of the student, of the faculty, or how is this presented to all of them? Through is there a union? Again, I'm a boarding school guy, so I get a little, I read some of it real quick before I jumped on, just because I was curious.
Okay, so teacher representatives come
Yeah.
together, I would say around 5 or 6. And then you have board members that negotiate with them with an attorney, and they negotiate in the fall from September to around December. And they look at different aspects of the contract, and they offer different proposals. And the two parties have to agree on them.
And the one that we've seen is the only proposal that is being discussed right now.
That's already been agreed upon by both parties, so that what you see is what's going to be in for the voters to vote on.
That's, yeah, basically, Tucker, what it is if you look at Article 2, Section 2.2, they come to a figure, and then if it gets voted on and approved, then that's what they get paid. If the town does not vote to support that budget, and the town chooses a different budget, then it goes back and they have to work it out.
Correct.
Yeah, I did see that. I guess I'm kind of getting there in a roundabout way, because wasn't that done in October?
That process started in September.
In September?
Yeah.
Okay. All right. And again, so this, because when I again jumped in just trying to look at some of the stuff, I remember saying that this wasn't, so the acceptance of the salaries comes through, I don't want to say us, but a little bit through this budget committee and then through the board. Is that correct?
Yeah, no, the board negotiated with the teachers. Now it's going to the budget committee and say whether they agree or disagree with it, but that it gets voted on by the community.
Okay.
And if the community votes no, then they have to go back and renegotiate.
Okay.
Yeah, so what it is here, Tucker, is basically, based on, Section 2.2 of Article 2,
Yep.
they have come to an agreement on a particular rate. And then the school board set forth the numbers of positions to be filled, and that's how they can't come up with their budget. So this essentially is a matter of justifying numbers of positions to be filled and the dollars behind each position.
Yeah, okay. That's good. That's what I got. I just kind of, all right.
So now it's our job to determine whether or not we agree or disagree with that and make our recommendations, whether they, could be more, could be less, whatever it might be, and make those representations to the town, and everybody gets a chance to, talk out their position.
I guess my thing is our, and I don't know, our job is to say whether we agree or disagree and throw another number back at them.
No.
No.
For that you don't. It is what it is.
No, it isn't what it is. That's not true. Our job is to say, okay, if we believe this should be more teachers, then we would have a bigger budget number to be voted on. If we think it should be less teachers, then that would be adjusted accordingly, and a different lower number would be put in front of the town to vote on. And they would choose to either go with our recommendations, or they could potentially go with the original recommendations, or they could just say, no, we're not done here, do some more work on it.
Right, you're talking about the budget, correct?
I'm talking
Yeah.
Okay.
not the teacher contract, right?
Yeah.
I think you were talking about the teacher contract before, but
I was, yeah.
No, I'm not talking about the contract. I'm talking about the budget to the town.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I'm kind of throwing it all together from my own thought process. So And I'm
But
just-
I would like to say, I read this contract in full and it had some very interesting things because we've talked about, the raises and how everybody gets the exact same raise. And I haven't seen anybody anywhere ever talk about, good versus bad quality of, work that's being done until I got into this contract. And this contract actually does do that. If you go to, I think it's page 27 that was sent over to us today.
Yeah.
That had some really interesting stuff in it when you get into, what was it about reductions and how reductions might be done if reductions were chosen to be done. And that is actually based on solely on the quality of performance.
So kind of where I'm going is, are there teacher evaluations every year, and are those used in the contract talks when discussing salaries? Kind of looking at all that, I see that when I see the same number for everybody, I don't feel that there is anybody looking at what they're doing other than we all get the same. And I'm trying to figure out how that comes about. I'm a little bit confused on that. I come from a world where you're brought in front of somebody and you're discussed on what you get or don't get due to your performance. And when I see the same number for every single person, and obviously it's really been bothering me a little bit. Well, that's why I like percentage better. It just doesn't feel like that evaluation or that process is going through. And I'm having a hard time because I don't think that's our job. But at the same time, it's very difficult to see that for me. That's just my 2 cents on that, on salaries. Coming from, I don't know, anyways.
It spells out very clearly on page 16 of the contract, which on the thing that was emailed to us would show on page 27 at the bottom of it. There's a section called reduction in instructional staff workforce. And it's very specific about how they go about that. And it has a section where it's evaluating the individuals. And it says, and even in there, it even says, hey, you could be ready for, retirement next year. And you can have a first year person. And if the administration thinks the first year person is doing a better job, well, then they're going to pick the first year person. So it's according to this contract, if it's not being done, it sure needs to be done just in case you end up in a situation where you do have a reduction in force. So Judith, you have not said yes or no about this. The question before you is simply, is there an evaluation done on each teacher?
Of course, yes, there is. Yes, they have very formalized evaluation process, and it also works in with their certification. And they have to develop goals, professional goals that they have to work on. They have to show evidence of completing the goals and implementing the practices of the professional development that they received. And it also has to do with student progress. It's all intertwined with the evaluation process.
And when I see everybody getting the same pay raise, that means everybody's doing it exactly the same and very well.
Well, the evaluation process is different from negotiations.
Yeah, so basically the evaluation process does not support the salary initiatives.
Correct.
And it is the school board that decides whether or not there's to be any type of, addition or reduction in force. And the administration just carries it out.
Correct.
All right. I guess you can, I don't know if I made myself clear what I'm seeing. It's bothersome to me that those two aren't used together to figure out salaries when you're trying to be budget conscious.
Here's one thing that has crossed my mind several times over the last few days as I've read through everything. we have a contracted group that is doing that particular service for the 7 spots there, for the 7 kids, which was always planned to be a 3-year thing. We have some places where we see the potential for having the possibility of more staff in one area than is necessarily needed. So we have an opportunity, should we have people that have interest in it, to work to bring that contracted services in-house with a particular set of training and everything. And I'm not saying today, I'm saying this is something we can look at to massage through happening over the next year and into next year, so that some of these people may have the opportunity to get further credits. I mean, you got a whole section in here where we're paying, up to $25,000 for somebody for taking extra classes and stuff here. So that's already budgeted in here. It's just a matter of, can you get any of these people that are on staff right now on board to do something like this and to find something like this? Because we know it's been done internally as nearby as Whitefield with success internally. And I bet you guys have the skill sets to pull it off. I know it's easy to get a contractor, but you could alleviate some of the costs where we have a lot of teachers and use them someplace else to get rid of a contracted thing. Just spitballing and throwing that idea out there, but it's not unreasonable.
Yeah, I hear what you're saying. I think we talked about that briefly when we went over the special ed contract, or the contract for the 7 students. And that is something that, again, I think that's long-term. I agree that we could investigate by checking other schools. And like I said, even talking to the contracted person, if I recall, someone said that when they came on, they were supposed to work themselves out of a job. I'd like to hear their rebuttal to what they said, why it's not out of a job today. But that's a hard one to do right now. I know that. I agree with you though. Yeah. And I see what you're saying. That I know I did read the contract quickly, and I noticed there was that 25,000. That's again, a carrot for someone to try and gain more education and go into a different avenue of the school. Because God knows we don't want to lose people. We hate to do that, but you also have to be budget conscious.
Yeah, that 25,000 isn't for one person.
It isn't? Oh,
no. 25,000 is for the whole staff. If any staff members want to take any courses or professional development or whatever.
That's per year?
Every year it's in there, yeah.
No, I meant 25,000 for the whole staff per year.
Yes.
The most staff person can take would be 3 classes in a year, according to this contract.
Right.
And each class is approximately $1,300.
Correct.
So does that get utilized in full every year?
Sometimes it does. Sometimes we have to refuse, some requests because the money has run out.
I would hope that would happen every year.
Oh, I read that wrong. Okay. I read that wrong. I thought it was each person over the years could get up to a 25,000.
No.
So there is no limit on them as long as they're taking every semester a course.
Yeah, the limit is 3.
3.
Yeah, it's 1 per semester, basically, of school, right? Per school semester.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Correct.
Yeah. I read that as the 25,000 was as far as they could go over the years, but I get it now. That was 1 year. Got it. I misread that. Again, I was skimming quick.
Is it safe, Judith, is it safe for me to presume that a person that has already done 2 in a given year, that another person coming along wanting to do 1 would get the funds rather than the same person getting the 3rd one for the year?
If there's still monies available, each one can can request up to 3.
Right.
You know, but yeah, we've never had people take the 3 and then all of a sudden there's no money for the one who wants to take 1, you know.
Good.
We make sure it's equitable.
That's basically around 19 or 20 classes that can be taken by the various teachers.
Mhm. Correct.
Does that, now that is a contract number. That's not necessarily something that we would address in any way, right?
Correct.
Because that's in that contract. So
Yeah.
we wouldn't want to say, oh, maybe we should raise that number because, you know, that's something they should have negotiated.
Right, right.
Yeah, no, we have to stay almost line item, right? Is that correct? Like, here's the salary, whatever the number is, we want to reduce it by this much.
Right. At the bottom line. Yeah, bottom line.
Bottom line. All right.
But once we approve the budget, you can move things around.
Mhm.
You know, they can move things around. Say we go and come up with a number for a certain line item. Well, if they disagree with us, they can spend it on something else.
Unfortunately, Tucker, it's not a line item budget. It's a
Yeah.
one big pot.
Ah,
Which, if it was a line item budget, I think it would be easier for us to understand.
okay. Sorry, I looked at a little more line item. Okay. Because we address it as a line item and look
Yeah.
at it that way. So just so that I understand, we will come up with numbers and then we'll just say to them, take this much out of the budget, or do we say take it out of these areas?
No, you'll say, take it out of this budget. And then when you present to the public would say, okay, how you would have to give justification for the amount of money you're recommending to cut from the budget.
Okay. Yeah.
That's why you're looking into the budget, but you can just say, I want to take, 50,000 out of this area. We want to take it out of this area because we want this, we want to take out this, this, and this. Okay, then do it and then go to another item, whatever.
All right.
But yeah, it's the bottom line that you're going to be taking out of.
I'm just trying to get familiar with the procedural because I
Right.
think we're getting close to that.
Right.
As a group, we need to start throwing some numbers and some ideas of what we want to take out or whether we don't want to take out or what we want to add.
Right.
I think we're at that point or getting really close to that point.
Mhm.
And that's why I'm curious on exactly, I want to make sure we don't make a mistake. And I know there's a lot of expertise there and I'm new to this type of a budget procedure. So just a lot of questions on that for myself.
Yeah.
All right, we're getting close to the 8 o'clock. And I guess I had on the thing that we want, it looks like we all, is their interest, and I want to put it to a vote of having a Thursday meeting.
I think we
Those-
need it. I think we need it.
Okay. Anybody, those interested or willing to meet Thursday to discuss this budget some more?
Yeah, I'll make a motion for that. Anybody want to second it?
I'll second it.
Thank you. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Robert?
I said aye. I didn't hear Mike.
Yeah, trying to figure out everybody.
Mike was muted. I don't know if he's.
Well, I think we got a majority, right? One,
All those not in favor for a Thursday meeting? So I'd say it looks like we're meeting Thursday. We'll stay at our 6 o'clock time.
yeah.
I will try to be there.
Awesome. Thank you.
All right, then I'll motion that we adjourn for tonight, I guess.
Second.
All those in favor for adjourning?
All right.
Aye.
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 and myself. All right, so guys, thanks. I will try to look at my notes a little bit better this week and put out some more information about a proposed agenda. Please get ideas to me that you would like to discuss. And I'll see you all on Thursday.
Hey, Jerry, thanks for the, all these minutes. They really are organized and they're great. It's nice to have. Thank you.
Absolutely.
Appreciate
Thanks
it.
for everybody for everything. There's been some great information being passed around. It's been really good. So
Good night.
thanks, guys. Good night.
Night.
Stay healthy.
Night.
Night.